We had a sort of cat mode where whenever a cat was brought onto set, we need to be very quiet, no sudden movements, no loud noises, because
that was an actor mode.
if you Benedict was very upset about how well the cats were being treated. No, not in that way. I don't mean that. No.
Good evening.
No.
What?
Go away. Go away.
Yes. What? Why?
What do you mean, why?
Well, I don't... Yes, of course. Yes, sorry.
What are you doing, Mr. Wain?
What do you want me to... I don't understand.
Out!
Oh, yes, sorry. Right, yes, of course. Sorry. I apologise.
You know, like many people, when I saw his pictures, I felt like I'd seen them before somewhere, but I hadn't heard of his name. And I guess that immediately was quite interesting to me, that he was someone who, on a subconscious level, I had been aware of, but I didn't really know his story. And then the more I looked at his art, the more I felt a kind of personal connection with him. I felt like he clearly had a sort of colourful, playful mind, but there was also evidence of some anxiety there, and he had a history, it turns out, of mental illness, and then there was the story of his life, which is kind of so extraordinary that it almost seems untrue. And I think I just had a deep sense of admiration for him, almost more as a human being than as a historical figure. And I just found him a very inspiring character. And I wanted people to know about him. And like there was something quite special about sitting in a room full of people and kind of them communing with the spirit of Louis Wain, someone who is no longer with us, but kind of is, in a way, if that makes sense.
It's the human being amongst the historical figure that we sort of vaguely know through recollections of his art being familiar and not necessarily knowing anything about the man himself and his story. And what he struggled with, this ability that he had to communicate with great fondness and make the cat something beyond just above vermin, which is how it was used. It was just to chase rats and mice. And he's sort of credited historically with domesticating the cat in the eyes of the British public and then becoming acceptable as pets. But within that, his work is so generous and loving and appealed across generations and across the years as well. And how that love was really needed in the twilight of his life, how he had been forgotten and cruelly cast aside because of his mental health, and how the artist and the interrelation with the audience can be so amazingly uplifting and positive. It's sort of, again, like Will says, it sort of beggars belief. It looks like the neat vanilla ending, and it's not at all. It's just, it's love coming back, give a little love and it all comes back to you, as the songwriter would say. And it really appealed to me that he was a quiet man in a very loud era, doing that, just crafting away, doing his work, getting really lost in the demands on him and struggling with his grief, with his life circumstances, and this sort of snowball of pressure on him. And the empathy I felt for him, I think, was something that we all carried very deeply as a creative group. Like Will said, we were all communing with this spirit that we fell in love with slightly.
I think it sounds like a rather splendid idea. Please just knock the next time that you wish to see me.
Oh, Claire's astonishing. She's just so available as an actress. There's no pretense to her as a person. She's a friend as well, so there's always just like, there's an open line of communication from that, which makes things incredibly easy. But everyone becomes her friend after working with her. She's just great, and she's just a master at what she does. And she had to have such a strong presence to carry forward through the film, through recollection, through his loss, his heartbreak. And it takes an actress of that caliber to actually really deliver, and she does in spades. So
it's a difficult role in some ways, in that the thing that pulls the romance apart is so monumental. And so we knew it needed to be someone who would immediately have a really sort of meaningful and strong impact on the audience.
Good night, Emily.
Good night, Mr. Wain.
So I made a decision very early on that I didn't want to use CG to manipulate the behavior of these cats, because I felt like it would maybe push it into a different space, make it a different kind of film. I wanted this to be a very human story. The result of that was that we were working with lots of cats on set, which sometimes required a little bit of patience. You know, they're very independent-minded creatures. But the result of it is that when you do get something from them, it feels like magic. And there are some moments in this film where cats are being cats, and it really warms my heart. But yeah, it's a thing. It's a complicated thing.
Kittens
Bless
do
the
what they say
wranglers.
on the tin. They literally do lick sources of milk and play with balls of wool. They're great. The minute they get to sort of adolescence, you can kiss a few hours goodbye as far as hitting them up. And I just remember going to bed, and it's very simple. It's all reward. There's no punishment. These are very humanely treated cats, and we all adored them. We got on very well with them. However, as stars of their show, it was quite difficult sometimes. And one of the ways of Pavlovianly triggering them is just to have this clicker, which is sort of tied in with a food reward, etc. So. Yeah, I'd go home in the car and I'd just be still sort of hearing this click still.
We talked about getting a giant clicker
for me.
For Benedict.
You know, he's known as an outsider artist, and we talked about his mental health issues, and I think, you know, that obviously is a positive message to give people an idea that you can be who you want to be. You can plough your own path. You're never alone, and there will always be love there for you if you go out into the world with love yourself.
I agree. Yeah, I think, you know, the shorthand is that Louis Wain is the reason why people in England keep cats as pets. So he's changed the world, you know, in a small way. But I think the movie is about so much more than history. It's about his courage and about how, you know, the things that he overcame are huge. You know, they're personal and they're different. They're just all. He had to live through a lot, and I think there's something about that we can all relate to. But he did it with grace, and he did it bravely, and I think that's what sucked me in. And I've, you know, sometimes with biopics, I don't think this is a very conventional biopic in some ways, and sometimes you can feel in a biopic how a life has been manipulated to service a movie. But in the case of Louis Wain, I really wanted the movie to work in service of his life. And so I think if the audience can get a sense of who he was as a human being, and of course some of it is us just trying to work it out, but we did it as empathetically as we could, then, you know, then I'm happy. Yeah.